welcome back to the channel. Today I want to discuss and kind of build upon the video where I explained buying my BMW F30 328. I just wanted to dive more into the topic of, is it worth modding a 328i? Is it worth spending all the money that I have and put into the car? Looking back now, was it worth it? Was it really worth all the money? I'm gonna go ahead and answer that question and dive a little bit more into the mods themselves and the setbacks and all that stuff that makes it worthwhile or not worthwhile. If you guys aren't already following me on Instagram, make sure you go do so, because I did release a kind of questions poll where I asked what questions you guys have, mainly about the F30, so that way I can answer them in this video and then of course give you guys a shout out. If you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you go head over there. Me and a bunch of the homies are gonna be at Yukon Car Show this weekend, or UC3 as you may know it. I'll put the information to the show like right here. If you guys are in the local area or up for the trek, make sure you say what's up if you see any of us out there at the show. Definitely like to chat with you about your car, about, you know, whatever. Just make sure you come by and say hello. Hopefully we'll see you guys there. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. To gear off of what we talked about in that last video, basically running over the entire buying process, and let's skip ahead to now I have the car, and now I've kind of decided I have the 3 Series I want to build. How am I gonna go ahead and build it? What type of things am I gonna do to it? Right off the bat, my first mods that I really wanted to do to the car was wheels, lowering, and exhaust. And in my opinion, those are kind of the top first 3 things you should do, maybe not in that order. In fact, I would probably do either exhaust or suspension first, just because the noise, like exhaust, makes driving a car much more fun, and it really makes you, how can I describe it? If you've ever driven a car with an exhaust, you just know how much more exhilarating it is when you actually step on the gas and you hear everything moving. I think that in its own is just a phenomenal mod, and definitely the first or second mod I would do. If you don't do that first, I would go ahead and just lower the car. Lowering the car, even on stock wheels, makes the car just look so much cleaner, so much better. It really gives it that kind of aftermarket modded look, even if you're just working on the stock wheels. Once you've done exhaust, once you've done suspension, then maybe throw on some nice wheels that you think will fit the car and the build you're going for. Do the wheels maybe a little bit later after you started, so you're really sure about the direction you're going with the build, because the wheels really do make the look of the car. If you want to be like real stance boy, huge lips and crazy offset, maybe you want to do like a more aggressive stance like I did on my F30, which is just multi-spoke but very aggressive looking wheel. That doesn't necessarily tailor to like that stance boy, hot boy look. Even though it's bagged and lowered and all that good stuff, it does kind of give the car a whole different look and kept that really aggressive stance to it. When I bought the car, I decided I was going to do the M Sport conversion. That was probably one of the first things I knew I wanted to do, because I quickly found out that my car didn't come with the M Sport bumpers, so I knew I wanted to build upon that chassis, or that body, if that makes sense. My first thing to do was get rid of the stock bumpers and make the car look M Sport, which also included doing the headlights at that time. I quickly did the bumpers and the headlights, and that was all good. And now I had the car looking generally what I wanted it to look like to start the build. After I'd done the bumper kit, then I wanted to lower it, and I went ahead and bought some H&R lowering springs, just the sport springs. I didn't do the super sport. So it was a mild drop, but one that just made it look noticeable. Being in New England, and with it being a daily driver, you can't really drive in the snow too low, so it was a very minor drop for the car, but again, one that just made it look aftermarket. I then decided to get the wheels, and I had picked the VMR V804s. I had worked on the fitment, the specs, and everything with Wheel Lab. Big shout out to those guys if you guys haven't checked them out. Wheel Lab is phenomenal. I can't speak highly enough of them. I didn't end up going through Wheel Lab for the Prelude wheels because they don't offer the wheels that I wanted, so I just can't wait for you guys to see the wheels for the Prelude. Anyways, we're getting off topic here. Now I've got the suspension, the body kit, the wheels picked out. I did the exhaust not long after. I ended up doing a quad tip exhaust. I initially had the 2 coming out one side, like all the stock 328s do, and then I opted for 2 coming out on each side. So it kind of looked like the M3, but you know how on the M3, the quad tips are really kind of close together? Mine were really set apart. It almost had that, I don't know, what is it, the B6 Alpina? I forget which model it is, but it didn't it just didn't look the way I wanted it to look, I guess. I saw pictures of guys running 4-inch tips on each side, so one on each side, and I just thought that looked so much more clean and aggressive looking, just one fat tip on each side. I actually opted to do that, but the process of doing the exhaust was actually going and deleting the secondary cat, because I'm N26, deleting the muffler, and then white piping it out to those two 4-inch tips. That has been my setup and is still my setup. Now I've added a VRSF catless downpipe, so that's really the only difference. If you guys haven't watched my exhaust videos, I'm pretty much straight piped. The only thing that's different is I've kept the resonator for tone. Other mods that I did, I think at the time were all pretty small. I had the intake that I had done. Again, the headlights, the HID kit. I started doing the minor stuff just here and there. And then the next big mod that I made and decided to do was air suspension. Air suspension was a huge thing for me because I wasn't low enough on the H&R springs, and I wanted the flexibility without having to jack the car up and take the wheels off and readjust the coilovers. So I wanted the adjustment ability right at the palm of my hand, which is what air suspension has given me. So I can go over obstacles, driveways, snowbanks. I started diving into how I'm gonna actually buy the air suspension because it's a pretty penny. If any of you guys have ever bought it, looked into it at least, or know anything about air suspension, it's not cheap. I had to do a lot of digging around to kind of see what system and setup I wanted to run. Fortunately, I was able to kind of work with some homies and get a good price on an airlift 3P system. So I did that, and I think I talked about this in my last video, but I did that install myself to save some money. It was just a matter of coming up with the money for the airlift system. Now the car is pretty much looking how I want it to look at this point. It's lowered, it's got the wheels, it's got the exhaust tips, it's got the bumpers, it's got the headlights. I also did the LCI taillights. So now the whole outside of the car looks pretty much how I want it to look. And then at that point, it just became doing more engine specs, and I knew I wanted to get like a burble map. To do that, I really needed to go stage 2 with the car. So then it became doing that downpipe. I had already done the intake, doing the front mount intercooler, the charge pipe, the boost pipe. That was pretty much gonna bring me to stage 2, or give me the ability to go stage 2 with boot mode. To answer the question, was it worth it? Yeah, you bet your ass it was worth it. I love that car. And my other point about not buying the 335 and going with the 328 is it gave me the extra funds to actually build the car the way I wanted it to look. In doing so, it just made me so happy to see the car's progress, and with each mod, it was just so rewarding because I knew where the car started and where it was going, and it just made the whole process so much more rewarding. The fact that I spent as much money as I did on mods, I somewhat justified it by going with the 328 and spending a little less money on the car. You know, the biggest ticket items on the car are the body kit. I had that purchased from European Society Motorsports. Shout out to you, Lewis. Guys, go check them out if you need to do any M Sport conversions, bumpers, aero, they do it all. So I did the body kit, and a lot of you guys have noticed and commented, and trust me, I noticed it, and the bumpers were painted in California, so I bought them. They were in California already. I told the guy my color code. He said, yep, we do that color mineral gray all the time. We'll go ahead and get that painted and shipped out to you. So probably about a month later, I got my body kit and I put it on the car, and it looked not quite the same color wise. So if you actually look at my car, especially in direct sunlight, the front bumper, the side skirts, and the rear bumper are a little off color. They're not perfectly matched, and that's because the guy that painted my car out in California never saw my car. Looking back, I probably would have opted to like send him my gas cap cover, so he had a piece of the car's OEM color to kind of go off of and match it to, but I was new to it. I didn't know. But if you guys are planning on doing that and they're never gonna see the car when they paint it, take off your gas cap and mail it to them. That way they have a piece of the OEM paint that they can match it to. The wheels were the next biggest buy, but again, something that I knew I was gonna take care of, something I knew I needed for the car, because there was no way I was gonna make the car look the way I wanted it to on the stock 17s that it came with. That one was just kind of biting the bullet and being like, yep, it's got to happen. I have to spend the money. And I actually ended up getting a pretty good deal after shopping around, calling manufacturers, calling places like Wheel Lab, and comparing prices. So I did my due diligence to get the best price I could on the VMRs. I take really good care of them. I ceramic wax coated them myself, so it just take care of what you guys own. I guess that's my point. The next biggest item I did, again, was the air suspension. And the air suspension was not cheap. I think that ran me close to about $2,600. And I ended up doing that through a firm, actually. I had the funds to pay for it outright in cash, but I figured if I can do it through a firm, and if any of you guys have used that, then you know, it's like a monthly payment system. You have 12 months to pay off a purchase with 0 interest. So I figured instead of spending the $2,600 and just giving it all right away, just in case something happened and I needed the cash. That was really nice and definitely just made buying bags a lot easier. That is something I recommend doing if you're 18 and have a good credit line and all that good stuff. Airlift has been amazing. Again, living in New England, if you don't have adjustable suspension, it's really hard to get around, especially if it's your daily car. That has just given me so many opportunities to drive the car when I otherwise would not have been able to. So for that, I love it. I can't speak highly enough about it. And if you're able to, I highly recommend going on air. So overall, I spent a lot of money on the car. I really never tried to look at it as a monetary thing. I tried to look at it as reaching the end goal, which was building the car the way I wanted it to look. I think I've been successful in doing that. To me, modding the car was totally worth it. Everything I've done on it has been totally worth it. I think the biggest thing is if you take care of it, you take care of the things you buy, put in some hard work to make sure you keep things clean, keep things tidy, and keep things not broken, then it makes everything so much more worthwhile. Like, just for example, like I take really good care of my front lip. I'm running the same front lip I bought 3 years ago. I've never had to replace it. Knock on wood, but I take really good care of it, and for that $75 lip has served me really well for 3 years, and it's probably going to continue to serve me well. So again, just take care of what you buy. It'll treat you well, making it a lot better to have purchased that item. I hope that makes sense. Yes, I love my F30. I love all the mods I've done to it. I wouldn't change it. I think that it's totally worth it. It's a great car to build upon if you're looking to do it. There's so many aftermarket parts for the car to build it the way you really want it to look. There's a huge community behind this chassis that is focused on helping people, providing information on mods and different setups you can do. So I highly recommend, if you want to build a BMW, the F30 chassis is phenomenal. Let's get into your questions though. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I put on Instagram a little questions poll and asked what questions you guys had on the F30, or I guess general topic questions, and I wanted to go ahead and answer some of your thoughts, comments, and concerns in this video. So I'll go ahead and do that now, and we'll see what kind of questions you guys came up with. First question, this is from basic_F30. For a daily, static or air? It's a good question. It's a very good question and relevant to what I was just talking about. I think that really depends on how much money you want to put into the car and where you live. If you live in like California, Florida, Arizona, you know, the roads aren't too bad and you guys don't worry about salt and snow and all that good stuff, just go air. Air is phenomenal. I can't say it enough. If you're up here and you're not very good at maintaining your car, you maybe want to stick with a static setup, because yes, you'll lose the functionality, but with air, being in like New England and daily driving, you really have to be on top of your maintenance with it. You can't let water build up in the tank. You can't let water build up in the lines. It's gonna freeze and it's gonna be a really shitty time for you. If you're able to, I recommend air. If you're not able to, static is totally cool. Obviously I run a static Prelude. If your goal is to do like a stancy show type car, you may want to do air. If it's a true daily driver that you just want to look modded, maybe stick with that static setup. I hope that answered your question, Basic F30. Thank you for the question. That was a really good one. Okay, so moving on to the next question. This one comes in from Glacial F30, my buddy Nick up in Vermont. If you got new wheels that were still in your budget, what would they be? Good question. For the F30, I think I would probably change the wheels up a little bit and do more of a stance look. Still aggressive, but more of a stance look, because so many people now have similar style wheels as I do that I kind of want to maintain that uniqueness and kind of just individuality with the build. So I'd probably do something a little less aggressive looking and a little more in your face kind of like stance look. So to that point, I would probably do something along the lines of maybe some Workmeister M1s, or I don't know. Actually, that's a really good question. I haven't put a lot of thought into it, but it would probably be something 3-piece with a nice like 3.5-inch lip. I'd probably do something with like a 5-spoke pattern for the F30, just because I think that would look really clean and still give it that aggressive yet stancy look to it. So thanks for the question, Nick. Looking forward to seeing you soon at some shows. Next question comes in from JBliss7. What are your thoughts on M lines in the kidney grill of an M Sport car. If you want my honest opinion, it's not for me. I just don't really care for it. I think, and I hate to say this because I know some of you guys like it and some of you guys run it and some of you guys have done some really cool variations with colors on the little grill inserts, but if you're asking just like, you know, the generic dark blue, light blue, red M Sport thing, it's not for me, man. With my builds, less is more. So I think keep it simple. I like my black with a couple carbon accents on it. I think that looks clean. I hate to like knock you guys for it because it's your build, you know, do what you want. If you're asking me honestly, I wouldn't put it on my F30. Another question from, I'm gonna probably butcher this, but it's AJ Thaperin. AJ Thaperin. He says, how much power can the N20, N26 engine really take without the motor blowing out? It's an important question, a valid question. I would say for either engine, I mean, they're relatively the same, N20, N26. I've heard guys getting above 300. I don't know how reliable things are gonna be after 300 miles, 300 horsepower. So I would guess anything above 300, you wanna have that N20 or N26 engine dialed into a pinpoint. Like you want that thing to be spec'd out perfectly. If you're pushing that much boost and that much power out of that thing with a stock turbo, I don't know. I would say probably 300 to like 315. Right after that, you're gonna probably start running into some serious problems. That would just be my ballpark guess, but correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Put it down in the comments. What kind of horsepower are you getting out of your N20, N26? And have you had any issues with that level of power? But good question, really good question. In summary, I would say like 300 to 315 is probably the max that you're gonna find out of these cars. From Mighty _ Crosstrek, he says, plans for aero bits or wide body? It's a great question too, and something I've been thinking a lot about as I'm kind of planning the channel in not necessarily the coming months, but the coming years, what I want the channel to do, where I want to go with the builds and all that good stuff. And yes, to your point, wide body would definitely be on the list of things to do. Not in the next coming months, but maybe in the next year, maybe in the next 2 years, depending on how well the channel does, man. If you guys start supporting and buying some merch, wide body will come next month. I promise you that. As soon as we get the funds, I'll go wide body. Promise. Aero bits. Yes, I've actually been trying to talk with a company, an aero company, who is thinking about doing some F30 aero, but hasn't released it yet to market. So I am working with them to see if we can get the group and the following behind it that would actually want to buy the aero from these guys. So if you're an F30 owner, put it down in the comments. Actually put down, you know, I would be interested in some aero, or yeah, let's do that. If you're an F30 owner and you want aero kits for your car, put in the bottom aero kit for my F30. That will give me kind of determination of how many people would actually be interested, because my goal right now is to convince this company that there's enough following and enough demand for this aero kit that people would actually buy it who own an F30. So comments down below, aero kit on my F30. From _ Tom Nguyen, have you ever dynoed your car? If so, what numbers did it put up? I have not dynoed the F30 as much as I would love to. Every time I get to the point where I'm like, okay, I want to dyno it, I end up wanting a new performance part, and then I'm like, well, I'll just wait until after I do this part to dyno it, because I don't want to dyno it twice and then add a new part and expect higher horsepower and re-dyno it. So I haven't done it yet. I know I should, and I know I owe you guys a video with some numbers of what my F30 puts up. So hopefully coming soon. I can't say what the power is. If I had to guess, 290 to 300. That's my guess. Next question comes in from my buddy Tailored _ Accord. He says, what are your thoughts on the G20? Nah. Not for me, man. I'm an F30 guy. That G20 does not look good to me and not a chassis that I would want to build upon. So I'll keep that one simple and short. G20, not for me. This one comes in from Fate _ F30. What's one thing you don't like about your car that you would change? Wow. One thing. I think to my previous point, which is the body kit paint, I would probably change the paint. I really wish that I had taken the time to like send him my gas cap, so that way he could perfectly color match the car and make sure that the body kit matched it really well. It's a small thing, but something that if you notice it, it's a big part of the car that's mismatched, right? You know, the full bump, both bumpers and the side skirts. And to that point, I'm pretty self-conscious about it. I try not to, you know, worry about it, but it is what it is. I mean, it wasn't my work, so it's not like I feel bad that I screwed it up. It's just the way it is. I don't like it. I know it's there. I know you guys can see it's there, but I hope it doesn't take away from the whole car, because I think the whole car looks really good. It's just that one thing that I would definitely change, and that is properly repainting my body kit. Next one comes in from AD _ media underscore. Lifted F30. Nah. I mean, aside from my obstruction ride height, or my obstruction height on my airlift controller, that's about as tall as the F30 is gonna go. I wouldn't go lifting an F30. Silver Static A4, Billy, what's up? Will she be faster than my Audi when I flash stage 2? Haven't dynoed it, man, but we can do some pulls down in Mexico. Show you what's up. Next question comes in from Austin underscore F32. Not something I want to know, but we gotta do a shoot once I get my wheels. Okay, yeah, not a question, but cool, man. Just let me know. We can make something happen. Stickman1309 asks, would you ever camber your F30 like -7 degrees? To my previous point about changing the wheels up to like some stancy 3-piece wheels, yeah, I'd probably run a little bit of camber on it. Nothing crazy, maybe not -7, but yeah, I mean, I'll play with the idea. Maybe -5 to -7. I wouldn't go like double digits, but that's doable, and I think that would look really good, especially aired out. Like totally doable -7 camber aired out. Ride height, that's a different story, but aired out definitely. Colby underscore DePace47 says future plans for the car, and I can't really answer that question because I don't want to spoil anything, but thank you for asking, Colby. The next question comes in from Tyler Schaffer25. If you wrapped your F30, what color would you go with? So this is kind of cool because to my body paint point, I've thought about wrapping the F30 instead of repainting the bumpers and just, you know, wrapping the whole car one color. To that point, I would probably do, and I've really wanted to do something like either a sand, like a tan color, very light though, not like a dark color, or I would do like a very unique colored, I don't know how to describe it. It's very close to like battleship gray, or if you've seen shark fin gray, or it's just a very you know what? This is pretty close. This little plant, this pot is probably close to what I would do. I don't know, camera probably doesn't do it justice, but it's a nice like flat gray. I'd probably do something a little bit lighter, but like an off-white, something off-white, either on the sand side or the gray side, I think would look really cool and really exaggerate the body lines on the car. So just something I'm thinking about. Last question, guys. This one comes in from It's a 3 Series. He asks, one thing you hate and love about your car. Well, since I already said the paint, I won't say that again. The other thing I hate about my car is the iDrive system. So I never had the upgraded iDrive, so I have the small screen, and I also don't have the comm box, so I can't do things like music over Bluetooth. I can use my phone over Bluetooth, but I can't play music, which is so dumb. And then also my iDrive is just kind of screwy. Like when I plug in my phone and play music, it says like unknown artist, unknown song, you know, whatever. It's like not synced up properly. So my iDrive is really screwy. Definitely one thing that I wish I had upgraded, or maybe I'll upgrade it someday, but definitely one thing that I hate about my car is the lack of technology that I thought would be there in a BMW, but is not. And one thing that I love about my F30, I love the simplicity of the F30 chassis. I love how streamlined it looks. I love how on the side of the car there's no badges, there's no like those little like fender wings that you see on like the F80 M3s. There's none of that. It's just body panels and super clean lines. To my point of less is more, that encompasses it. Like the F30 body just is so simple yet encompasses BMW styling so well that I love that part of my car, and that's why every time I park it I look back at it, and every time I take pictures of it I obsess over them, and I just love the way the chassis looks, and I love the way the body lines look, and love the F30. So hope that answered your question, but that's gonna wrap it up for today's video though, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you guys at UC3 this Sunday. If you do see me, I'll be vlogging, so make sure you say what's up. Hopefully you can make it in the vlog. As always, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I will see you in the next video. Deuces.